Hi, and we're back again to the great series of 19th century buildings, and thanks for joining me. We're in the late colonial period, and by 1840 the erection of terraced houses became an explosion as a result of the new building regulation. Terraces presented a face to the world that was either a long flat blank parapet wall or a series of vertical brick leaves with the individual buildings crushed into the bland hollows between. This building typology became very prevalent in Sydney town from about the 1830s right through to the 1930s. This type of architecture wasn't aesthetically noted in its time in the early part of the 19th century, but it was universal for many years. This was the terraced house. Hi, it's Michael Beashels here again, Australian historical fiction writer, and thanks again for having a look at this great part of our colonial history. The history of the terraced house goes back to England, and it was driven by an innovation after the Great Fire of London in the 17th century. Because that fire destroyed so many homes because they were not physically fire rated, to use the modern term, or separated by fire resistant materials from each other. A fire in one house would quickly spread to its neighbour with disastrous results. The terraced house that emanated after the 17th century required dividing walls between houses to be full height and to actually go above the roof line. When we talk about a terraced house, it technically should be joined to a row of other like houses, a minimum of 3, hence the term row of terraces. A terrace house really cannot exist by itself, although the term is used loosely today to describe one such individual building. It would be more like a townhome in the 19th century. The terraced house was prolific in the 19th century Sydney, and its classical range ran from the most elegant in Macquarie Street, a street we've visited many times, to the slums of the Rocks and parts of Surrey Hills. Governor Macquarie, whom we've referenced many times in these videos, also improved the order and architecture of Sydney. In 1826, a view of George Street shows Underwood's tenements, not as architecturally inspired, which was probably the first terraced houses built in Australia. Sydney grew in its built form like a Georgian town. Terrace houses had the unfortunate visual effect of cramming, like similar books on a bookshelf. Its style of design paid no homage or respect to the Australian climate. The single-fronted, undramatic masonry copied truthfully from its London parent. En masse, it had a devastating effect on Sydney's built form. No shading, no verandas, no eaves. Go figure again. No mention of terraced houses in Australia can go without mentioning John Verge once again, who practiced architecture in the 1830s. His assistant again was John Bibb, who designed 8 terraces in Liverpool Street that was to survive into the 20th century and became a boilerplate or a cookie cutter for others. So many examples of fine terrace houses, especially in Macquarie Street of the middle 19th century, were very elegant and very acceptable places to live. Around Paddington, Surrey Hills in Sydney, they proliferated to varying architectural appeal. In fact, in the Millers Point area in Kent Street, there is still extant examples including my father's house, in which he was born in 1916. This is noted with the white dot on the photograph below, so please forgive me for introducing a personal note, but I just want to underline my passion for Sydney, my love of building, and my ancestry who came to New South Wales in 1863. So let's leave the beloved terrace and continue with our journey to more buildings in our series. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.